It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and Pompeii is already awake. In the darkness of narrow streets, the only sources of light come from torches held by slaves descending steps to the wells, and the dim glow of oil lamps in bakery windows, where fires are already stoked beneath ovens. No one in the city waits for sunrise to start their day. By the time the first rays touch the summit of Mount Vesuvius, the stone-paved streets already hum with footsteps, the creak of wooden carts and the clatter of shutters. Ancient life wasn't lazy. It simply began before we were even awake. What you're about to see has been reconstructed from laser scans of the ruins, archaeological reports, and detailed three-dimensional models of every surviving building. We'll walk through the forum, where reconstruction went on for 17 years after an earthquake. Then we'll descend into the baths with their marble pools, peek inside bakeries with stone grinding wheels, and finally reveal what remains of all this nearly 2,000 years later. But before the city starts to speak, it sounds like water. 16 stone fountains flow continuously on every street. Just 100 steps in any direction, and you'll hear the steady murmur. Water reaches Pompeii through a 40-kilometer aqueduct, drawing from the mountain springs of Carno. It crosses elevation changes, relying solely on the gentle slope of its stone channel. That sound, monotonous, relentless, like a heartbeat, never stops. It signals that the empire mastered how to bring a river into stone basins right in the heart of the city. Behind each of these 16 fountains, every open bakery and every filled amphora lies the same invisible mechanism. 30 to 40% of Pompeii's population were slaves. They rose before their masters, carried water from the fountains into homes, turned millstones, kneaded dough, scrubbed mosaic floors in atriums, and stoked the fires in the thermopolia. Marble facades and water flowing from underground springs look like triumphs of engineering, until you realize this entire civilization runs on hands, denied the right to see the dawn. The sound of water spilling from stone basins echoes through empty streets, guiding us toward the city's political heart. The sound of running water slowly fades into another noise, the creaking of wooden shutters, the tapping of sandals against travertine stone, and the sharp calls of magistrates hurrying toward the basilica. The forum unfolds in its full width, a long rectangle, 120 by 50 meters, framed by 2 rows of Tuscan columns. The morning sun of Campania spills over the steps of Jupiter's temple on the northern end of the square. At the marble altar in front of the temple, the priest carries out the morning ritual without the slightest hint of mystical awe. He measures the wine with a precise hand motion, recites the formula word for word, and records the outcome. The Romans don't pray to their gods, they strike a bargain with them. When the ritual is exact, the deity must respond. One slip in the formula, and the entire ceremony restarts like a voided contract. Here, religion functions as an administrative duty, and the gods act as full partners in the agreement. Their service is paid for with sacrifices and documented in the priest's official records. Behind the eastern colonnade, the air shifts. Beyond the familiar scent of incense, a sharper, more earthy smell cuts through, the pungent aroma of fermented fish. It drifts from the port warehouses where stacks of amphorae hold garum. This fish sauce from Campania was the region's prized export. Barrels of garum loaded onto ships sailed across the empire, from rainy Britain to scorching Egypt. One square in southern Italy shaped the tastes of 3 continents. On the counters of street food stalls near the garum jars, you'd find something instantly recognizable: figs, olives, dates, and local wine jugs. The Mediterranean diet of 79 AD barely differs from what fills a modern fridge. 2,000 years have changed language, religion, and borders, but not flavor. Yet the wealth flowing through this bustling port settled far away, tucked behind high walls in completely different neighborhoods. The blank walls reveal nothing until the heavy door swings open and the street noise cuts off sharply like a knife. Beneath your feet lies that famous mosaic everyone knows, a black chained dog set against a white background, guarded by the words Cav Canem, beware of the dog. This warning has stood at the threshold of the house of the tragic poet for nearly 2,000 years, right where its owner left it. The sign on the fence is made entirely of tiny stone tiles, not metal. Beyond this doorstep, a completely different world unfolds. The outer walls of the domus face the street with solid windowless surfaces. The design flips the usual idea. Light, air, and water all move inward. A narrow entry corridor leads into the atrium, an open-air courtyard exposed to the sky. Through the compluvium, a rectangular opening in the roof, a direct shaft of sunlight pours in. Rainwater funnels down the same opening into the impluvium, a stone basin set into the floor. The water cools the air, light dances across the columns, and shadows from the beams slowly creep over the mosaic floor. The noise from Via dell'Abbondanza never reaches this quiet sanctuary. Deep inside the house, beyond the tablinum, lies the peristyle with its columned courtyard, a place of shadow and coolness. Here, the lady of the house receives her guests. Here, slaves massage her skin with almond oil, while the heavy scent of orris root cuts through the smoke drifting from the kitchen hearth. Bronze tweezers for hair removal rest on a marble table beside a polished metal mirror. The same floor separates the woman choosing the fabric's color for her dress from the girl who weaves that fabric, a girl who will never wear it. Beyond the estate walls, inside the barracks near the Nolan Gate, a different kind of celebrity lives. The gladiator is no nameless, doomed soul in the arena. He's a professional athlete, with a career, an income, and fans. Before training, he rubs expensive olive oil into his skin. His name is sprayed across graffiti all over the city. And the prize for victory? Enough money to buy a small plot of land. Roman spectators root for him just like any modern sports fan cheers a champion, and just as quickly forget him when he loses. While the patricians enjoyed the quiet of their inner courtyards, life just beyond their walls roared on without pause. Beyond the quiet inner courtyards, the cobblestone streets come alive with the rumble of wheels and the scent of sizzling onions. Pompeii's streets pulse with an unyielding rhythm of their own. To cross to the other side, you have to time it just right, stepping between two carts onto the raised basalt stones embedded in the road. Underfoot, the stones feel slightly slick from morning dew, but steady enough to hold your weight. These boulders aren't just a crossing. The wide gaps between them channel rainwater into open drainage ditches, turning the entire street into an active drainage system. Wooden wheels roll precisely between the stones, carving deep ruts into the basalt, marks left by thousands of daily journeys that endure through the centuries. A pedestrian caught off guard at an intersection risks getting caught under the shafts of passing carts. There are no sidewalks here, only instinct and habit. As we walk up the street, a new sound fills the air, the clink of bronze ladles and the lively calls of vendors. Lining the facades are thermopolia, street food stalls where deep ceramic pots nestle into massive stone counters. Thick steam rises from their open mouths. Inside, hot stews simmer, ladled straight onto the pavement. People eat standing up, exchanging brief phrases over their shoulders. The scent of roasted garlic mingles with the sharp tang of watered-down wine. Each stall draws its own crowd. Porters with dust-streaked red hands, craftsmen in short tunics, slaves running errands for their masters. The contents of these pots reveal a diet far richer than you might expect from common folk. Archaeologists find remnants of duck and pork, river fish and garden snails, even beef. Meat considered rare in the ancient world. The average Pompeian didn't settle for bland bread porridge. For just a few asses, they could enjoy a full hot meal without lighting a fire in their cramped apartment. Street food wasn't a last resort. It was a deliberate choice in a society where even the poor were accustomed to a variety of flavors. The most vivid record of everyday life isn't found in pottery. It's etched on the walls. Across the facades, columns, and pillars of Pompeii, archaeologists have cataloged over 11,000 pieces of graffiti. It's a chaotic mix. Political slogans rub shoulders with declarations of love, wine price lists, and insults hurled at neighbors. Two unknown writers argue over a tavern keeper named Irida. One praises her goods, while the other bluntly accuses her of selling herself. Nearby, someone scrawled, "Walls, you chatter so much, it makes me sick." Marble temples and paved streets stand alongside these raw human passions, unchanged after 2,000 years. Yet, neither piping hot stew nor wine could replace the one essential product that kept those heavy millstones turning day after day. A heavy grind of millstones echoes from the open front of a bakery on Via di Nocera. Behind it lies a low, vaulted hall, thick with flour dust and the dry heat radiating from the ovens. Volcanic tuff crushes the grain with a deep, vibrating hum that carries down the entire street. Most apartments in the city lack kitchens. building owners deliberately left out hearths. Open flames and five-story wooden structures could turn an entire block to ashes overnight. City planning puts safety above home comfort. 20,000 residents eat their meals on the street. Thermopolia, Pompeii, and bakeries replace the family hearth. This isn't poverty, it's the normal rhythm of Roman life. The scale of this system is impressive, even by today's standards. Across the entire city, there are 35 bakeries, one for every 570 people. Each bakery isn't just a shop, it's a full-scale production facility. Inside, you'll find grinding rooms, dough-kneading halls, and a round brick oven with a domed ceiling, capable of baking hundreds of loaves every morning shift. Here, they don't just bake bread, they produce it nonstop. Donkeys walk in circles tethered to wooden yokes. Their hooves scrape the stone floor, setting a steady rhythm that fills the entire space. Cone-shaped millstones made of gray volcanic rock turn slowly with a heavy, rolling sound. Stone grinding against stone. Grain pours into the narrow gap between the upper and lower stones, transforming into a dusty gray flour. The animals work from dawn onward, tirelessly and monotonously, their breaths blending with the warm scent of dough and ash. At the shaping table, the baker picks up a round ball of dough. With years of practiced skill, he slices it crosswise. The loaf slides into the oven, then another, and another. The baker shuts the oven door, unaware that this bread will never be sold. The heat from the furnace still lingers in the air, but another kind of warmth rises above the rooftops. Dry, still, coming from the mountain. Mount Vesuvius is green. Vineyards blanket its slopes, wheat fields gleam at its base, and 700 years of silence have worked their magic. For those who gaze at this hill every morning, it is a source of fertility, not danger. Their language doesn't even have a word for volcano. The mountain stands on the horizon as a calm, green silhouette, but within that calm lies a trap, one we who know its secrets see with icy clarity. The ground beneath our feet has not been as stable as it seems for a long time. 17 years ago, in 1962, tremors shattered half the city. Temples cracked, walls collapsed, and the scaffolding still stands in the forum. But new underground jolts, repeating week after week, no longer spark fear. A man walks along a crack in the plaster of his own house, traces it with his finger, measures its length, and nods. Tomorrow, he'll call a mason. Just another day. In Pompeii, walls crack as predictably as autumn rain soaks the city, and just as regularly they get repaired. But now the water has stopped flowing. 16 stone fountains, which usually pour a steady stream onto the pavement, fall silent. Their dry stone basins coated with a layer of lime. A passerby leans down, taps the empty basin with a fingernail, and shrugs. The aqueduct's broken again. From the wells, wooden buckets creak as they're hauled up with effort. Inside, just a muddy, warm trickle clings to the bottom. No one connects this to the mountain. Around 11 in the morning, the city notices the silence. All the birds, pigeons, sparrows, jackdaws, simultaneously lift off from ledges, tiled roofs, and balcony railings, flying away from Vesuvius toward the sea. Horses in the stable stomp their hooves, snort, and press against the stall walls. The air hangs still. In that sudden emptiness above the rooftops, the one unmistakable sign that couldn't be blamed on a broken aqueduct, not a single voice breaks the quiet. People had always blamed the dry fountains on a fault in the water system, until 1 o'clock in the afternoon when the mountain tore itself apart. The roar of the explosion still vibrates in the stone as the sky above Mount Vesuvius turns black in a matter of minutes. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the volcano shoots a column of ash more than 12 miles high, spewing 1.5 million tons of material every second. The bright midday sun vanishes. Day dissolves into complete darkness. The air fills with a sharp scent of sulfur and smoke. Fine volcanic dust settles on the cobblestones, on windowsills, and inside uncovered clay jars. Then white pumice begins to fall, slowly, almost silently, at about 6 inches per hour. This gentle rain of lightweight stone gives those who act quickly a few precious hours to escape the city. Doors swing open, sandals slide across dust-covered steps, and carts creak along the road beyond the city walls. Those who leave immediately survive. Those who stay behind shovel pumice off roofs and doorways with their bare hands, unaware that the real devastation is still to come. In Misenum Bay, the naval fleet prepares to set sail, but not for an evacuation. Pliny the Elder, the fleet's commander and one of the most learned men of his era, steers the ship straight toward the erupting volcano. His mission, to record, measure, and understand. While thousands flee the mountain covering their faces with wet cloths, Pliny sails into the danger, dictating his observations to his secretary. He watches the world's destruction with scientific calm. The morning of August 25th brings the end. At 6:30, a pyroclastic flow barrels down the slopes of Vesuvius, an inferno of superheated gas racing at 435 miles per hour, with temperatures soaring between 700 and 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. It swallows the city in seconds. Those hiding in houses, basements, or behind locked doors never feel pain. Death arrives faster than their nerves can send the signal to the brain. In a single instant, a living city ceases to exist. The ash cloud settled, the sounds faded away, and the city fell into complete silence for the next 17 centuries. Silence stretched on for 17 centuries, until a shovel struck stone. Systematic excavations began in 1748, when the first archaeologists realized that beneath the layer of pumice and ash lay not just dirt, but an entire city. Grass and shrubs hid the tops of columns. Tree roots snaked through cracks in the pavement. The air above the dig smelled of damp earth, the same volcanic dust that once buried these streets. Giuseppe Fiorelli found a way to bring the city's inhabitants back to life. In 1863, he developed a method of filling the cavities left in the hardened ash by decomposed bodies with liquid plaster. Once the mixture hardened, they would break open the mold, revealing the figures of people frozen in their final moments. Bent backs, covered faces, folds of clothing captured with such precision that every seam showed. The plaster captured the void, the shape of death, preserving the living matter it once held. Today, the Forum of Pompeii lies open to the sky. The altars stand empty and marble floors are worn smooth by thousands of footsteps, the very ones that once carried morning offerings. At the house of the tragic poet, a mosaic of a dog with the words, "Beware of the dog," still greets visitors at the entrance, even though the courtyard behind it has long lost its fence. In the Thermopolia, empty stone niches mark where clay pots once held wine and stewed meat. Those pots, blackened and cracked, now rest behind glass in the National Archaeological Museum of Naples. Nearby, bread from an ancient bakery waits, a round loaf scored with 8 radial cuts on its crust, identical to those made by modern Italian bakers. 2,000 years separate them, yet not a single day seems different. Behind the museum glass, these items look like still life, but each one carries the imprint of a hand, the trace of a morning ritual, the quiet certainty that tomorrow would be just like yesterday. Mount Vesuvius looms over every corner of the excavation site. The same cone, the same green slope, the same silent mountain. Today, 3 million people live in its shadow. They walk the same streets, bake the same bread, worship the same gods, just under different names. Carelessness doesn't belong to any era. Civilization is a fragile layer between us and the rock beneath us, invisible until it starts to crumble.